All right, let's bring in Andy McCarthy, former Assistant U.S. Attorney and a Fox News contributor. So people are looking at this Menendez indictment and saying, wow, what was he doing with gold bars and cash stuffed in his clothes in his closet? Well, here's how the senator explained it a short time ago. Listen here.
For 30 years, I have withdrawn thousands of dollars in cash from my personal savings account, which I have kept for emergencies and because of the history of my family facing confiscation in Cuba. Now, this may seem old-fashioned, but these were monies drawn from my personal savings account based on the income that I have lawfully derived.
He's saying it's a little emergency walking around money that he wanted to keep close at hand. What do you think?
Well, you know, look, he'll get a chance to see if he can persuade a jury of that. I remind people, John, that, you know, this is not his first rodeo, right? So his last corruption case, there's been a lot of reporting about how, you know, it ended as if he were cleared, and he was never cleared. He actually got a hung jury the last time in 2018. So, you know, we'll see what a jury thinks of this. But the unfortunate thing is that people draw an equivalence of what it requires or what should be required to convict someone. I mean, he's quite right to be insisting that he has the presumption of innocence, because he does, and he'll get his day in court. But that hardly means that he should be deemed qualified to be a United States senator, much less the head of one of the most important committees in the Senate, the Foreign Relations Committee. That's staggering.
Andy, one more on that soundbite that John just played. You know, did he make a mistake, the senator, in giving an explanation for how this cash appeared in these envelopes in his pockets, when you've got a line in the indictment that says that some of those envelopes had the fingerprints of his driver and one of the Egyptian businessmen? That seems like something that now could be held against him in court.
Jackie, that's exactly right. Unless he vetted what he was going to say with his lawyers so that everybody was absolutely confident that they could prove what he's saying in court, he's really making a mistake making any representations, because that statement can be used against him at the trial if it turns out not to be true. Now, I want to be clear. These are very hard cases. Public corruption cases are hard cases for the Justice Department to win. There's often a lot of very unsavory evidence, but it doesn't necessarily mean that beyond a reasonable doubt somebody performed what the courts have narrowly construed as an official act on behalf of whoever was paying them off. So it's a tough proof, but you don't want to help the prosecutors by making statements they can use against you.
So during that news conference, Senator Menendez was saying, hey, look, I held Egypt's feet to the fire on human rights, their relationship with Russia, buying Russian arms, et cetera, went on and on and on. But here's what the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York alleges that Menendez was doing as it related to Egypt. Listen here.
The indictment alleges that Senator Menendez used his power and influence, including his leadership role on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, to benefit the government of Egypt in various ways. Senator Menendez allegedly provided sensitive, non-public U.S. government information to Egyptian officials and otherwise took steps to secretly aid the government of Egypt.
So I guess the question is, can both things be true, that he held Egypt's feet to the fire on certain things but potentially aided them on others?
Yeah, it could absolutely be true. And it could also be true, John, and this is Menendez's point, I imagine, in his defense, that he can have done things in a way of using his influence on behalf of the Egyptians without having done what the courts have narrowly construed to be an official act on their behalf. The U.S. Attorney, for example, mentions that, you know, he gave them sensitive, non-public information. The word I was straining to hear but didn't hear was classified information. And the reason that's an important distinction is there's no criminal law that says you can't pass along you know, sensitive, non-public information. So there's a lot of stuff here that sounds very bad and undoubtedly is unsavory and certainly calls into question this guy's fitness to be a United States senator. Whether that means they can get a criminal case across the finish line is a very different question.
Well, his defiance at this press conference certainly clashes with, you know, stepping down from his chair at the Foreign Relations Committee. I mean, it looks like somewhat of an acknowledgement that this is going to be a cloud hanging over him, and yet he wants folks to, you know, believe that it's not going to impede his job everywhere else in the Senate. So we will keep watching it. Andy McCarthy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Andy.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.